I'd like to introduce Sophie from PRS INVIVO. So PRS INVIVO partners some of the world's largest retail and FMCG brands with 10 offices globally, working in 50 countries plus, specializing in behavioral insights using AI, biometrics, and both qual and quant. They help to predict ROI for packaging, shopper experience, and new product development. So Sophie Mahé is the VP of PRS INVIVO Group with 20 years experience in the industry, much of which is in behavioral science. Sophie initially headed the Chinese office in Shanghai and has then relocated to Singapore to head the business throughout Asia. So, Sophie.
Hi, everybody. So let's go for shopper understanding and packaging design. And I'm going to start with a really short introduction about PRS INVIVO. Just like really, it's like, do you know what is shopper behavior? It's really interesting question. And what we do when we do shopping is that like we are going like almost like 38 times a year to a store. We are always roughly doing exactly the same path when going into the store. And what we do is that we always buy the same product. We are open to innovation, but it's really, we are like really focusing our behavior on building habits. The habit, it's really important when we, you want me to, yes, I'm smaller. The habits at PRS INVIVO, it's like a really important topic. What we are saying is that like, because like everybody is doing exactly the same time every time, we need to understand what is the current habit to change it. So there are two ways of understanding the habit. Is to, when we talk about like a pack design, is to make sure that people are able to recognize the product and to reinforce the habit. And that will be like the biggest challenge when we are talking about like packaging and we are doing packaging redesign. But when it comes to innovation, that's another challenge. The other challenge is to be able to break the habit and to make sure that people are going into the store and are able to step back to take another product. But what we know as well is that when we do shopping, decision-making happens like extremely fast. So the time to make the difference is really short. So that's the reason why behavior is one of the biggest topics to understand like how to change the behavior and how to make the people to buy your product. The question that we have so far at PRS INVIVO is that knowing that everything is about understanding the habit, is that we need to make sure that we are able to understand what is the habit loops, and we need to understand how to reinforce and to break the habits. The way we are doing it is really about like understanding behavior. And what we are saying is that behavior is always the first driver for purchase. That was the introduction. But then, when it's come to FMCG, because I'm going to focus mostly on FMCG, what does it say? Once again, this is an example coming from our shopper lab in China. If the video is working or not, well, we don't care. When we ask the people, what are you doing when you do in store? We show the video and to understand like what is the behavior. Most of the time, we say, well, I look for my current product, the one I usually buy. And so when we say like refer to habits, 60% of the people are buying the same product all the time. And shoppers are taking decisions extremely fast. When it comes to packaging strategy, when we arrive in front of the store, we learn to ignore everything that is not making sense. What we are saying is that we are taking decision in a really fast way, and we cannot look at every single SKU that we have into the shelf. So we have like a sequence about like when I arrive into the store, I tend to deselect everything that is not making sense for me. The deselection part is 0.3 seconds. So it's really, when you arrive into the store, you do it like you start, hop, you are in front of the shelf, 0.3 seconds, you are already deselecting everything that is not making sense. When you arrive at the part of the shelf that is making more sense for you, it takes 2 seconds to decide about the product. And then there are some arbitration between price, quality, and everything. But that means that everything that we are doing is going like extremely fast. When we compare how people are taking decision and what is the packaging strategy when we are doing like working on the packaging is that if you look at what people are doing, like brands are doing, is that we are saying that if you look at a pack, you have like mostly like around 12 visual signs on the pack. Among the 12 visual signs, only 4 of them will be seen in a lapse of time about like distillation and selection. So that means like if you do, we look at the 2 examples. Sorry, I'm going to show you the 2 examples like that. If you look at the 2 examples, let me start with the French example that is a really bad one. It's always good to start with a bad thing about France. On the left side is the current packaging. On the right side is the new packaging. French people will always want to talk more, so they are putting a lot of explanation on the pack. But what you see is that the left packaging that is really straightforward, going from the product to the brand to the ingredient, is definitely more efficient to tell the story compared to the one that is going up. I'm not even finding the number 1. Doing that. Tac, 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 tac. Merci. In fast decision making on the right design, you don't understand anything. So that means that because decisions happen really fast, people will go for something that is more easier to communicate the benefits. Let's go to look at the example from a Chinese product. It's from Minute Maid, for those who don't recognize the brand. It's really easy. I have a packaging that is saying Minute Maid that is showing the milk and the strawberry. In 3 visual signs, I understand the story. Really efficient. I change the pack and I add some level of information in between. Minute Maid, something in between, and then the strawberry. The visual of the strawberry is coming like at the 4th thing. It's come to the 3rd point, is that like visual are always more impactful than the words. So that means like if I show a bigger strawberry, it makes more sense than to write it's a strawberry yogurt. So, sorry. So that means like in terms of packaging strategy, when I want to understand what to do, I need to remember T-slide. T-slide will tell you everything about what is a good packaging. We are going to the packaging strategy and we try to understand. So I'm going to say something like really fast about system 1, system 2. I'm sure that everybody heard about that. But that's really an important question when we talk about packaging. For those who don't know, system 1 and system 2 are really easy to understand. If I say 1 + 1, you don't need to think about that. You know that it's making 2. If I say 23 times 17, you will get the answer. It takes more time. The time that you are taking to find the answer is system 2. When we come to FMCG, we are saying like, because we are saying like deselection, selection, everything is happening like pretty fast. That means that your decision making is as 1 + 1. So that means that your packaging needs to rely on the 1 + 1 thing. We have some way to predict system 1, to help system 1 to take decision. And we are having like 3 topics: preset memory and deselection, quick association, emotion. I'm going to show you like some example and just to show you some of the experiments that are happening. There is a question an experiment that was done is that if I ask how many calories do you have in a burger, and if I ask how many calories you have in vegetables, the total would be 686. But if I ask the question about like the burger plus the vegetable, is it higher, lower, same level? Hop. It would be 511. This is what we call quick association. When we talk about quick association, is that like by adding some greens next to the burger, I should not say that to McDonald's, but it gives a sense that it's more healthy. And so that means that it has like less calorie. And this is exactly what is happening in packaging. By associating some of the codes, it gives like a sense that your product is better and better than the competition. Your challenge is to bring like a benefit that is different and better than the competition. And this is where we are using quick association. This is an example. The next one is an example about like from China and on product on which I worked. It took me some time to understand the product because it's a small bottle of Coca-Cola, and but then it's in a shelf that is not expecting this kind of visual code. It looks like a bottle of VIVO. And so by putting this product into the Coca-Cola shelf and into like the drinks shelf, the only thing that happen is that like people are not able to see it because like we are like definitely in the part of the deselection. We are looking for a soft drink. When we arrive into the shelf and we see a bottle of VIVO, we don't look at it. And that's the reason why from there, the product doesn't get any purchase and doesn't get any attention from shelf. The product was launched, but then they focused more on the digital platform, on Tmall and Taobao, on which we have like more exploration on some of the new product and new trends. Still talking about like a quick association, these are some example. Is really by showing a shape that looks like a coffee, it's easy to understand like it's a coffee drink. By showing like a big lemon shape, easy to understand like it's probably something linked to the lemon. And the color coding, if you are red, it's more like you are more like into the economy offer than if you are black. And yeah. Emotions. The most important is emotion, and in FMCG are the biggest one. We have like 3 examples. Oreo. This example is really interesting. We start from a really a communication on pack that is focusing on the biscuit, and we have like the Oreo biscuit with a splash of milk. We're changing to have like a communication that is more related to the brand. And by just having like this kind of more static biscuit and branding on the pack, the purchase is like really going down. We have 2 examples from France. I'm sorry, I'm French, so it's easier for me sometimes. This is like a really famous brand in France called Granola. They are launching, they did launching like a years ago, a new cookie that's called Extra Cookie. Actually, to communicate Extra Cookie is better to show like a big cookie on the pack than to write it. And so on the bottom pack, you don't need to say anything. Just by looking at the pack, it makes sense and shopper like really. Mikado. It is equivalent on you have like you know this kind of stick by showing like the chocolate, the wave of chocolate makes more sense, and to give like the sense of it's a big one and it's going to be better than the current one. But then when we play with emotions, sometimes visual are not really intuitive, and I'll let you 2 seconds to understand what is the flavor of this product. 1, 2. Lime, no. Kiwi. And your understanding was like as bad as the consumer one. So if you show a pack with a shapes that look like a lime, they will not understand that it's a kiwi. And you have to look like really careful to understand, because like you can see like some of the visual elements that are showing that it's a kiwi. If you look at the bottom, this is a kiwi. So it's really interesting that sometimes by going to more emotional sign, you are missing the point because you are misleading the consumer. From there, I'm good. From there, what are the rules for good packaging? And top, I give you 5 rules. I have a lot of others, but I'm going to go it straight. You need to understand what is your shopper mindset, and you need to fit with the shopper mindset. We have an example from Australia. We have an example from, but this brand is available in Singapore, and we have an example of China. The first one is Minute Maid. They wanted to have like a healthy offer, and so that it was like really making sense to have like and same target for the candy one. It's better to show like healthy people to show that we are healthy, but actually, when we look at the juice and when we look at the candy, what we are looking for is that juice, and what we are looking for is like enjoyment. So if you say something that is more like into the healthy benefit, you are just missing your point because you are not fitting with the shopper mindset. So that's the first rule. I have some good example as well, but this one is really an interesting one. You need to understand what are the brand cues, and you need to reinforce your brand cues. This is a good example coming from Aquafresh. It thinks that you can reduce the size of the branding just by enhancing the cues. And because like the brand cues of Aquafresh is also about like the toothpaste with the 3 colors, That makes that by showing that and enhancing, you are communicating two elements. First, we are the best in toothbrush, and you have from a good brand. So the size of the branding on pack is not doing everything. Sometimes by leveraging the colors, the shape that are really related to your brand is probably better. The third rule is you need to communicate a benefit from the very first impression. Two examples from China, from the same category. The first one, it's a brand called Yoti. And you see at the top, you can see the branding. In the middle, you see the flavor. So from there, you don't have any competitive benefit. It's just like a Yoti, lemon, or orange. It's not orange, but yeah. And then the really small thing at the bottom is a benefit. But good luck if you understand what is the benefit about. And even me, after working on this packaging, I'm still not sure about the benefit. I think it's a tea with orange or lemon flavor with a fresh benefit. That's the reason why we have an ice mint. Wow, complicated. The positioning of the brand was we need to play with enjoyment, fun, and wow, no. It's not there. So we are not fitting with a shopper mindset. We are not clear in telling the story, and we are definitely not able to communicate the benefit from the very first impression. If you look at the other example, that was a huge success in China and that you can find in Singapore. It's really interesting brand because they start the category sparkling water, flavored sparkling water was not on the market yet. They arrive with a new product, with a new category, and with something and a packaging that is really straightforward. I have the big branding, I have the benefit 000, and then I've got a big fruit and splash of fruit. This is probably one of the biggest success in China in the past years. Emotion is never far away from what we are saying, and you need to build a compelling story in 3 seconds, and playing with emotion is always good. This is a Dove chocolate. Chocolate category is always complicated in China, but this one is a really enticing one. By showing a big durian and the chocolate, it gives really a sense that this product is probably better than the other one. And I keep the last rule for the end, because it's the last one. It's about packaging is not everything, and you need to be able to have a unique. You won't be seeing anything. Okay, well, it's not, the video are not working. It's okay. It should be doing a flower, so I'm going to do it. This is doing like that. You need to be unique and delightful, and to have we like the idea of having a sensorial signature when you are doing a product. You need to make sure that your product is your product. And we always have this example. Well, this example is always a good one, but there is always a Coca-Cola communication as well, that when you do shh, and you know that it's a Coca-Cola, even if everybody is doing exactly the same thing. So yeah, that's the last rule for me today. I have a lot of other examples, but the idea was to have a short introduction of PRS INVIVO, of packaging and shopper behavior. Thank you. Presentation is here.
Thank you for that. A question was, how often do brands come to you wanting to change their packaging, but you're like, actually, this is a really bad idea? Because I know some of those famous examples like Tropicana in the US where it's a disaster. So is you sometimes in that moral quandary where you say, actually, we should not be changing this?
Well, sometimes when we see the packaging that they want to test, we say we should not do that. And sometimes we give some advice before going into the test because we know from start that this will not work. And sometimes we have surprise, but most of the time when we say this doesn't look good, we are right. So I think when they're coming to say we have a packaging to change, they always have good reason, and we don't challenge that. We are mostly challenging some of the early stages design that they are sending us to say probably there are some things that could be done just before going into the test.